لو تخينا مسكن وفلنا فريه لنا تنتفع لنا.
سلام أبرح حقن كاروان تركبو تهذا تلتي تلفزيون إرسات كما يكنيهم
مؤلف
سرتي أفرح نحب فرح نزيفرح.
Dear Erisat viewers, we have a special guest today. My guest is Dr. Babiker El-Obeid. He is a Sudanese national currently living in Sweden. Dr. Babiker have PhD in political science from Uppsala University in 1980. That's where I was born, the year 1980. With the Swedish Save the Children and also worked with the Red Cross as their resident representative. He is a member of Al-Ahfad University for Women in Sudan. He is currently retired after working in different schools in Sweden. Today, we will discuss the current political turmoil in Sudan. Dr. Babiker, thank you for accepting my invitation and would like to welcome you to Erisat.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dr. Babiker, as we have been witnessing the last couple of days, there is fighting going on in Sudan. The fighting erupted over the weekend between two rivalry groups led by two military leaders vying for power, leaving millions caught in the crossfire as airstrike, shelling, and gunfights hit the capital Khartoum and other areas. The two warring generals are General Abdel Fattah Burhan and General Mohammed Hamid Dagul, aka Hemeti. Can you please give us the background story, how Sudan get to this nightmare situation?
Yeah, actually, it's very sad. And I never thought in my life that will happen in Sudan, especially in the capital of Khartoum. But if you look at the background, actually, I mean, Hemeti or the 𝐒𝐄𝐑𝐍𝐃, they have been created actually by the late President Omar Bashir. And they have used them parallel to the army to fight the war in Western Sudan. And Hemeti actually has no military background at all. And he brought them actually from the countryside, and they've been trained to wage this war. Burhan is a military man, but unfortunately also he worked with Hemeti in Western Sudan against the rebel movement in the area. So both of them, they were collaborating very close to each other. And even if you hear or you listen to their speeches in the last days, they were really praising each other. And they said that there is no conflict between them, you see. But we were really surprised because they were on Saturday, actually, at 10 o'clock, they were supposed to sign an agreement that that the 𝐒𝐄𝐑𝐍𝐃 forces will be accumulated in the army. And suddenly by 9 o'clock, the war has erupted between both of them. So as a background that they were together, but to be fighting now, this has another background because we think that the Bashir men in the army who have started this actually because they don't want to have a peace settlement in Sudan. So Al-Burhan, actually I don't think Al-Burhan, he knows about this from the beginning. But unfortunately, the Muslim brothers were penetrating the army, which is they want to come back with al-Bashir to the power again, you see. So this is actually a hidden fight between al-Bashir people in the army and the 𝐒𝐄𝐑𝐍𝐃, which were supporting actually the people revolution. This is as far as I can say. You see, because most of my information actually now through the mass media and through the telephone call, which I get from the friends in Sudan.
Okay, Dr. Babiker, as we have been seeing, both of them were leading the transitional government for the last 4 years after the overthrow of General Omar Bashir. And now it looks like they were fighting to control the power. It looks like there is a power struggle between the two generals. Not only the generals, there was also another group, the civil society group, is also part of the government prior to, the second coup. So all this together, can you just go back, what happens after the overthrow of Omar al-Bashir and then the events that happened, including the second coup that was that happened by al-Burhan and then 𝐒𝐄𝐂𝐻.
Yes. You see, after the throw of Omar al-Bashir, the civilian, actually, they were split themselves, which is gave the chance to the army and 𝐒𝐄𝐻 to control the government. And that is which led actually to the coup in the 25th of October. So the army and the 𝐒𝐄𝐻, because both of them also, they have economical benefit, you see, because the army have their own economic structures, and the 𝐒𝐄𝐻, they have also their own economic structure. So both, they have their own separate economical benefits. So what has happened, that after the civilian have split themselves, unfortunately, so Burhan and 𝐒𝐄𝐻, they thought that now they are controlling the government, you see, and they wanted to have their own government. That is why Hamdok has been arrested, and then he has actually resigned because he couldn't continue. And the discussion has been going on forward and backward between 𝐒𝐄𝐻, Burhan, and the civilian. So, and all the time, Burhan and 𝐒𝐻, they used to say that the civilian must agree among themselves, because the civilian are split. The civilian are not united, you see. So when the civilian came to this agreement, and now they came to the final stage for assigning the agreement, now erupted the conflict between 𝐒𝐻 and al-Burhan, because they wanted to have the two armies in one army. And what happened, now they said this will take around, 𝐒𝐻, he said this, he wanted to happen after 10 years, and Burhan, he said he wanted to happen in 2 years. So the conflict now became between the army, not the civilian and the army. So now the army themselves has been split, you see, to two. So and then of course there is a lot of meditations, between the army and, the force people, I mean the American, the British, and the Saudis, Emirates, they came in, the Egyptians, they came in. See, all these people, they try to meditate between them. So by the time that things has been settled and they're supposed to sign the agreement on Saturday, what has happened is erupted this war, unfortunately.
Okay, as you have been said, the two generals, the two army leaders, they have their own power structure, they have their own economic structure. Obviously, Burhan is leading the Sudanese army, but on the contrary, 𝐒𝐻 is called the Rapid Support Force. They are the militias.
Yes.
What is the background of 𝐒𝐻? Some people, they say that he hasn't been going through school or anything, to be a general or going through the ranks. They say that he was a trader, camel trader, and stuff like that. So, what is his personal history? Can you give us?
That's exactly. This is true. He hasn't had any kind of education, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hardly can read and write, as you can notice if you listen to his speeches.
Mm-hmm.
It is true that he was a camel seller and buyer. You know, he has no background at all. He came from nowhere, actually. That is Bashir who has made him to this position. Not only Bashir, even Burhan. I mean, if you look at the 𝐒𝐄𝐂𝐻, he had only 24,000 soldiers before. Now he has 100,000. Who has from where? From where he got the money actually to build all this army and to have all this machinery and these vehicles? You know, from where? Actually, he has been made by al-Bashir first, and then Burhan actually he supported him, because even Burhan he has cancelled this Article 5 in the forces of the army, because the army was the Janjaweed or his 𝐒𝐄𝐻's army is supposed to be part of the national army, but this Article 5, which Burhan has just crossed it out and made him to be an army by itself. So it's not following the military.
Mm-hmm.
𝐒𝐄𝐻. So 𝐒𝐄𝐻 background, as just to repeat myself, he is an educated person. And even he has not been to a military academy.
Mm-hmm.
So he has no military background as well, except that he has gained his experience from this war in the Western Sudan.
So,
that is the situation.
We know that from so many reporting that 𝐒𝐄𝐻 and his soldiers been committing a lot of atrocities against people in Eastern Sudan, in Darfur areas.
Yes.
So what can you tell us about, like the activities of the Rapid Support Force, and what was the role of 𝐒𝐄𝐻, and why does al-Bashir want 𝐒𝐄𝐻 to have his own forces? What was the reason for him? Wasn't he threatened that have two different armies in the country?
Yes, but this is one of the most strange things happening in Sudan. I mean, during all these 30 years, they have a lot of weird things has been happening. And this is one of them. You see, why he substitute the army with this militia? Because he thinks that this militia, they're doing the job in behalf of the army, because they are actually, as you said, they are using a lot of atrocity, killing people, raping women, they have done all I say all strange things, you see, that would never happen by the army, and unfortunately. And al-Bashir actually depended on him completely, and he's becoming his right hand in Western Sudan. And I don't think only Bashir, actual Burhan, I think also has supported 𝐒𝐄𝐻 up to this particular moment, until this last moment. And that is why I don't believe that Burhan, he knows about this attack against 𝐒𝐄𝐻, because I'm sure this has been done maybe by I can call it the Bashir men, or I can call it the Muslim brother hand.
So we know in Sudan, it's not only 𝐒𝐄𝐻 or Burhanu, there are also other forces. If you go to Eastern Sudan, like a couple of months ago, there were forces that they were cordoned, closed the road that comes from Port Sudan to Khartoum. There were forces that were supported by also, a neighboring country, Eritrea, the Beja forces. So where are all these forces right now? Like the 𝐒𝐄𝐻 force, the Burhani forces, the other ones, the Beja ones. So how is it right now, all this group together?
You see, unfortunately, now Sudan is going back to regionalism, tribalism. You see, Now in Western Sudan, you have these military groups, Jibril, Manawi, you see Hilu, you see Abdel Wahid, all this group. You have Agar in the Blue Nile area. Now you have Terik in Eastern Sudan. So each tribe now, or each region, building their own military, you see. So Sudan actually, unfortunately, going back to tribalism. So what happened in Eastern Sudan? Because also they wanted to share the power, you see. Western Sudan, the same thing. Well, unfortunately, we lost the Southern Sudan due to this fact, regionalism, you see. So Sudan now, unfortunately, is going to be split to different regions, if not different countries.
That is really very unfortunate. This issue after the overthrow of Omar al-Bashir, and then also now the infighting within the capital city, Khartoum, and also all other different factions, we know that Sudan has been going through a lot of different military leaders. You know, this is not the first one that is coup is happening. You know, there is very few civilian leaders in Sudan. But how can you compare this with in history? You know, the things that happen right now in Sudan, has there been anything like this before in history, you know, after independence?
You see, not like this at all, actually. I mean, we had an incident actually in 1976 when we had this, what they call it, the invasion, you see, during Nimeri. But this was from the political parties, actually, in Sudan, Al-Ummah Party and even the Muslim Brothers and the Unist Party. They had formed a group of people or army. They tried to invade Sudan, but they didn't succeed, actually. And it was being stopped in 3 days, actually. This is the only incident has happened. But of course, we had a civil war in Southern Sudan, which have lasted for so many years, you see, until we came to the agreement in 2005, when they stopped the war. You see, in Southern Sudan, and 2011, they have been voted in referendum to be independent states. We had a war in Western Sudan, but that's never in the capital of Khartoum. This is the first time we have a war. Actually, I call it a war. You see, in Khartoum, the capital. You see, this is the first incident, actually, unfortunately.
It is, yeah. It's very unfortunate, and it's not easy. I know the people in Sudan is going through a very difficult time right now, and our hearts goes to the people of Sudan and to all that's affected by the war.
Very difficult time.
Yeah,
very difficult time. I mean, there is no water, no electricity. Hospitals are stopped. You know, people are not finding now food. You know, people are now leaving. By the way, Khartoum, they want to go to the countryside. I mean, to other towns where a little bit peaceful, you know. But the situation is really horrible. I mean, you find dead bodies in the streets. You know, people, they cannot even carry them or bury them. You know, and hospital almost stopped. You know, nothing, no medicine, nothing. You know, the doctors are complaining. They are working 24 hours. You know, I mean, the situation is not promising at all. Not promising at all, unfortunately.
We know that the people has played a very big role in overthrowing Omar al-Bashir, and also the civil societies. The civil societies were very, very strong in Sudan, and they were also playing, you know, a strong role during the transition. Actually, they have their own civilian representatives through Hamdok. At this point in time, you were saying that there was also some sort of agreement between the civilian societies, but the army are the one who didn't want to get into that agreement. So what are, they saying, the civilian society right now? Are they saying anything? Are they taking any sides? Are they taking the sides of Burhan or Hemeti, or are they saying nothing? What is the status
No,
of this
actually,
group?
actually, the people, they're saying like this.
Mhm.
People, they say they are not against the army,
Mhm.
but they are against the leadership of the army.
Mhm.
Because they think that the leadership of the army, they are not acting according to their own judgment. They are acting according to the Muslim brother judgment. This is what they are saying, the people. And of course, they are against the Janjaweed. Although the Janjaweed or Hemeti, he is proclaiming all the time that he is standing in the side of the civilian. But the civilian, they think and they believe that the Janjaweed is a militia, it's not an army. The army should be unified and should be under one leadership. This is the people what they are saying. But the civilian now, actually, because, when and actually I call that the youngest from the boys and the girls, they are who led this revolution against Omar Bashir. Their motto all the time, that was peace, justice, and development. They wanted peace, Always they say, salam wa adala. You see, this is what their mood all the time. So they're against this fighting. You see, this is what the people are saying. But also another aspect there, I would say very honestly, that is the political parties in Sudan, they are not that strong as they used to be in 85 or 64, when they had revolution against Aboud in 64 or Nimeri in 85. The political party were really strong, and they have a very strong leader as well. But now, unfortunately, all the political parties are so weak and unorganized. So the youngest, or the new generation, actually, who led the revolution, they are organized, but they don't have leadership, because they organize themselves in areas, in towns. They have their own communication. But now they don't have weapons. They cannot go out in the street. I mean, there are some people actually proclaiming that we should go out and try to demonstrate. But people are telling them, you can't, because this is guns. Nobody is going to listen to you. They will be dead. You see, and actually already a lot of them, they have lost their lives during the Bashir time. So it's not wise now for them to go out, although they wanted to go out. And I think if this fighting continues for such a long time, I think the youngest, they will start to go out, because now they start to organize themselves, like trying now to evacuate the ones who are really being stuck in war areas. They're trying, to move the dead bodies from the street. They're trying now to distribute food as much as possible for the needy people. They're trying now to accommodate people who doesn't have places now, who have evacuated their houses, so that they wanted to give them a shelter. So, they're trying their best, you see, and they're sending, they're trying also asking for financial help, so that they could run their operation. So they are doing their best in their own capacity. But don't forget that they are also lack of the experience. This is my judgment. But I'm really, to be very honest, I see they are the future of the country. But because now, even if you listen to them when they are talking in the mass media, they're really aware of what's going on and exactly what they wanted to achieve. This is what I like about them.
Mm-hmm. So the civil society, the political parties, we haven't heard anything from them yet. Have you heard anything? Are they taking stands?
Yes, I mean, like the Ummah Party, they now try to contact Burhan and Hemeti, and they ask them to have a ceasefire, at least, and to start the dialogue again. But that doesn't help, because even the American have asked them to have a ceasefire. The Egyptian have asked them to have a ceasefire. The Saudis, the Emirates have them to ask. Even the Arab Union, the African Union, but nobody is listening. And now we don't want talk. We want actions. But action, how can you have an action with guns over your head? This is a problem, and it's a vicious circle. But now just now I heard that they have accepted to have 24-hour ceasefire, so that to allow the people to get their food and the hospital can be functioning and this sort of thing. But I'm not sure.
So yesterday, we know that Secretary Blinken announced a 24-hour ceasefire between the warring parties, However, the truce doesn't hold for hours, and witnesses say there was a raging fighting in Khartoum and other parts of the country. And now also you're saying they were having another for 24 hours truce. So do you think that this will hold, this truce again, or it's maybe the same thing like what happened? And then at the same time, who do you think has the upper hand right now? I'm sure they were both of them were blaming against each other, accusing each other. They say that they want to arrest, kill the other one. So who has the upper hand right now? Do the Burhani army or the Hemeti?
You see, I mean, if you take it rationally, the army should have the upper hand. You see, because it's well equipped, they're well trained. This is the logic out of it. At the same time, that Hemeti is not have this military strategy to fight a war. But what we are hearing and what we are saying, you see, what they say, that each one he claimed that he has the upper hand. But as a matter of fact, none of them has the upper hand. Because if you talk, if you see, for example, they say that we have recaptured the military headquarters, the army, saying so. So the next day you hear that the Hemeti people or the army, they say that we have recaptured the headquarters. You see, and they show you photographs from inside. So you don't know who is right and who is wrong, whether this is a fake photograph or it's real, Now the whole situation is unclear. Even the people, when we talk to the people, for example, in Omdurman, they say that, the whole street is full of Janjaweed. And then you talk to somebody in Khartoum, he said to you, the whole street is full with the army, you see. So this is cities war, People are mixing, and they are using the civilian as,
as a shield.
As a shield, exactly. So the situation is unclear. About this, another 24 hours of ceasefire. Now they have announced it. So we don't know after 1 hour what will happen, you see. But still, that people, they say, we hear a gunshot and hear the bombs and we hear fighting as if it's going on. And if you listen to Durman TV, there's nothing there, you see. And up to this particular minute, Al-Burhan did not come out and say a word to the people what is going on. So nothing. People, they don't know. They haven't heard it officially. At least Hemeti, he was in one of this Arabic TV, and he spoke there. So people heard him say something anyway, but not from Burhan. So everything is possible.
Al-Burhan is the de facto leader right now. I mean, he is leading the army. He has all the army, the air force, everything is under his disposal. Because he's the de facto leader, even though Hemeti is his vice leader, his vice president, I'm sure that it looks like Burhani has the control of the resources of the government.
Yes.
But, you know, like not coming out and saying anything about the war, the conflict to the people, it looks like that's he is losing the trust of the people, because he should come out and say something, because he is the de facto leader, no matter what, right?
Exactly. And this is what we're expecting him to come out and say exactly what's going on. Because we'd like to hear from him. He's the leader, as you say. But nothing actually from him. Not even from the army spokesman. It's only once he came out. But after that, we never heard anything. That is why people are speculating that Burhan, he is not the one who initiated this. You see, because they think that there is another hand behind Burhan who were doing that in his behalf. You see, and I hope this is not true, because if it is true, it means that the Muslim brothers now are in the control again.
Yeah, that's what so many people were saying. I heard that too, because even Hemeti himself is accusing that there were like the Al-Bashir people or the people from the previous regime, they are trying to come back to the government. So that's what he was making the accusation. And also against Al-Burhan too. He was saying that he is a criminal. He has either to be captured or killed. So it looks like he is putting everybody together, Hemeti. He looks like he has more, he's boosting, or he has a lot of confidence comparing to the other ones. Why do you think that?
Yeah, because he actually he's playing in the people. He wants the people's sympathy. You see, he said that I am with the people. You see, I am the one who are supporting you. You have revolt against Al-Bashir and the Muslim brother. Now they want to come back. I am the one who's going to defend you. You see, this is also his strategy, actually. And he's mentioning also one of the Bashir men, or the Muslim brother men, 𝐒𝐂𝐿, who was once Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is behind that, he's saying, you see. But and now they are showing a lot of videos, showing them, the old regime men speaking about this fighting is going to happen. You see. So I mean, this is a propaganda, of course. I mean, I don't blame him, but it is true. I mean, what he's saying now to the most of the new generation, he is the one is supporting them. He is in their side. You see, but after that, what will happen? Nobody knows, because there are also another group saying that we don't trust any one of them. You see, because we trust them twice. You see, we trust them when the revolution have succeeded, but they betrayed us when they shoot us in front of the headquarter army, and they killed the student. Then we trust them when we formulated the government. So they came with the coup d'etat of the 25th of October. So this is 2 times. Now this is the 3rd time. The 3rd time they are splitting. You see? So because the split came in the time when we are ready to formulate our transit government. So now, actually, if I don't trust any one of them, to be very frank, myself. And most of them, they have to be away now from the scene.
What is the status of Omar al-Bashir right now? We know that there are a lot of sympathizers within the government. There were a lot of his people within the government. Even Hemeti and Al-Burhani, they were serving him for years, They were part of his government as well. So we know that he was in prison, but especially, given what's going on right now in Sudan, what is the status of Omar Bashir?
They're still in the prison, actually. You see, because I don't think Al-Burhan wanted Omar al-Bashir to be in prison. This is for sure. But Hemeti, maybe he won't, because he betrayed al-Bashir now, Omar Hemeti. And I think he wanted to even to hand him to the international court, Hemeti. But I mean, they are living a normal life. I think in the prison, they meet their families and they go out. And I mean, now things have changed. And even their court is nobody hear about it. So,
yeah. Okay. In the last couple of weeks, I just want to bring in the Eritrean issue here.
yes.
I'm from Eritrea as well. In the last couple of weeks before this crisis came out, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, aka Hemeti, visited Asmara and met with Afwerki. Many believe Afwerki has been meddling in Sudan's internal affairs for years, and they say that he gave his support and blessing to Hemeti for the escalation and possible fighting, because this just happens, as soon as he visits Asmara. And so many people think that Isaias always likes to meddle on the internal affairs of the neighboring countries. That's what he did, like in Ethiopia in the last couple of years. So what is your view on Afwerki's involvement in Sudan?
No, I think, I mean, you see, during Hamadok period has happened two incidents which make the relation between Sudan and Eritrea to be a little bit tense. The first incident, when there is a delegation from Eastern Sudan going to Asmara to meet with Forgi. You see, the government of Sudan during Hamadok, they have stopped these people to go to Asmara. And the other incident, that when there is a delegation from Asmara want to come to Sudan to mediate, to resolve some problems between the military and the civilian at that time. So the Sudanese government also stopped that delegation to come to Sudan. So after the coup of the 25th of October, the relation started to be normalized. So that is why the government sent Hemeti to Afwerki to try to normalize the relation and to build a good relation between the two countries. But also there is an incident, you see, when this Tigris war, you see, the Afwerki government also wanted to send some troop that to come through Sudan, you see, to encounter Tigray. You see, but also they have made it a little bit tense. So I think his visit, Hemeti, mainly to normalize the relation between Eritrea and Sudan. And they thought, the government, that is a good one to go there is Hemeti, because he has a relation with Asmara. But to trigger this fight, I don't think it is that way, because already the relation between Sudan government and Ethiopia is not that normalized due to the fact that the Nahda dam, you see, and the Egyptian, you see that the Sudanese and the Egyptians, they were against the dam. But, and Burhan is taking the Egyptian side. And Hemeti is taking, actually, as we call it, African side. So he does not object to the dam, Hemeti. But Burhan is taking the Egyptian side. And this is also making the relation so tense. So that they think is Hemeti is the right person because he is not taking a side against Ethiopia. This is my own analysis, actually.
As you have said, like the relationship between Ethiopia and Sudan has been very intense in the last couple of 2 years. We know that there is the triangle called Al-Fashiga has been also an issue for many years. It was under the control of the Ethiopians for almost 100 years, but during the last 2 years, the Sudanese army, they took over the Al-Fashiga. And then also the other issue is because of the dam, the Ethiopians, they want to fill the dam, and the Sudans were objecting, also siding with the Egyptians. So how is the relationship between these two countries will have impact on the current situation in Sudan? I'm sure that, during the war, the Sudan's government take advantage of the Ethiopian army weakness to take over Al-Fashiga, and then also putting other pressures on the Ethiopian government, even with regard to the dam. Now, things look like, on the other hand, the Sudan is on a bad situation. Do you think that Ethiopians might also take advantage of the situation and try to do whatever they want to do?
Yeah, that is if you are absolutely right. But I would like just to say one thing here before Ethiopian actually, during the revolution of setting of Al-Bashir, they have played a great role of helping the civilian, to formulate a government. You see, even Abiy Ahmed, he came to Khartoum, you see, during that time. And the relation, we thought it will be really good. But when we came to the dam issue, Burhan actually, he took the Egyptian side, which is actually anger the Ethiopian, you see, which is make them actually to go to the Fashiga area, you see. But during the war, as you said, that is, they have been moved away. But actually, this has affected the Sudanese-Ethiopian relation. There is no doubt. Up to now, I mean, there is nothing in the near future to normalize this relation. And we hope it will be normalized. I mean, because Sudan has to play a great role, I mean, in the East Africa, I mean, with Ethiopia, Eritrea, Kenya, Uganda, and now even the African Union is taking a side, actually. I mean, that is what's happening in Sudan. They are against it, actually. And now they are, they might have an sanction against Sudan if this continue the war in Sudan. So the whole, Sudan will affect the whole area, Egypt, Ethiopia, Asmara, Kenya, if it's not stable, the country.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be an influx of refugees from Sudan to the neighboring countries.
Yes, no question at all. Yeah, we will come to that to the end of this interview. But I want to go back to Afwerki's involvement in Sudan. We know that the Eastern Sudan, the Bejas, they were supported by Afwerki. And then at some point, even they were saying that they have their allegiance to Afwerki rather than to the Burhani government. So, and then he always plays that to control Sudan. That's what so many people. So as a Sudani, as a Sudani person, how do you feel that the government in Eritrea just having like the eastern part of Sudan, even like he also supporting in Darfur area, the other places also during the war. So how do you feel? How do the Sudanese feel that about Isaiah's involvement? He might not have his hand right now on this, whatever is going on, but prior to that one, he has always a bad influence on the, on Sudan. So how do you feel as a Sudanese?
You see, let me go back again. The Bija, you see, of course, they are living in the both sides. in Eritrea or in Sudan. And of course, Asais, he has an influence in that area. But you see, when the government forbidden the delegation to go to Asmara, because due to that fact, because they thought that they want to go to Asmara to stand against, you see, the government. So they wanted to push them to take a side. That's why the government of Sudan forbid them to go to Eritrea. And, you know, for me, I mean, for me as a person, I am against interference of other countries' affair whatsoever. You see, because when I work with Reda Ban and the representative in Sudan, I went to Eritrea, you see, and I met Asais in that time during the war, you see, and to me, in that time, Asais was really like Niriri, you know, he was talking about democracy and freedom of right and this sort of things. But after independence, I was really shocked because things has changed completely. It's not the same Asais I met in 83, you see, during the war, actually, when I went there. So, I mean, if now trying to intervene in Sudan is because always, as I see, so that the Sudanese government is helping the struggle movement in Sudan, you know, against Asmara. And now he's wanted to pay back. You see, that is also he wanted to take his revenge, if I might say. So, but I mean, I would like to say that it's not wise from Asais or even from Khartoum University to be involved in other region affair. This will complicate things rather than resolve things. And don't forget, these people over the border or living near to the border, they're splitting. You know, this border has been created by the colonist people, but not by the people. You know, because you find some people, some tribe, you know, the same tribe, half of them are Sudanese and the other half are Eritrean, or they are Ethiopian, or they are Chadian, or they are, you see. So they split the people. And you cannot stop people from meeting each other. And even now, if you go to Kassala, there's a lot of intermarriage there. Now you cannot distinguish who is an Eritrean, who is Sudanese. It's impossible. You see, if you have been now there, you see, if you go to the market, I have been to Kassala. You see, if you go to the market, one shop is Sudanese, and next to him directly is an Eritrean. But we don't know whether he is Eritrean or Sudanese because they look alike and they are intermarried and everything is the same. So let us people live in peace.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, many Eritreans, they don't appreciate what Isaias is doing in Sudan or other neighboring countries. As you have been said, you know, no government should interfere in other countries' business. That's what my belief and so almost like every Eritrean's belief. But in contrary, Isaias or Afwerki, because that's how he stays in power. He always creates external problem so that, you know, like he can hold the people. There is a war in Ethiopia, there is a war in Sudan, so we are always in war with the neighboring countries, and that's how he is trying to hold into power. So as a Sudanese, also as a political scientist, Isaias has been in power since 1991, and you know him also, you know, prior to that one, 1983. As a political scientist, how do you describe Isaias? I mean, I'm sure that you have been seeing on your life so many dictators, so many totalitarian leaders, and there are so many in the world. But how do you rate Isaias? Where do you put Isaias?
As I told you, I was really disappointed. because I met him the first time, he was talking about democracy, about the rights of the people. And now what I see, what he's doing is far away from what he has said. That's why this is my disappointment. I mean, definitely he's a dictator. There is no doubt about that. I'm sorry to say so, but I mean, he used to stay in power from 91 up to now. That is the category of a dictatorship.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's the reality. I mean, this is this is a reality. As you say, he's been in power for 30 years. But as a scholar, just when you compare different dictators, and I'm sure that also Eritrea as a country, and then I'm sure what's going on in Eritrea. So there are dictatorship is dictatorship, but there are also you compare from one to the other one. Some are far worse, some are a little bit better than the other one. So when you see all the dictators in Africa, where do you put him?
I think he's in the top now.
He's in the top right now, yeah.
Yes. I mean, because we have this journalist here from Sweden, who went to Dawit.
Dawit is up.
Yeah. And he's disappeared. You see, I mean, that is a friend who knows him here from Sweden. So, I mean, this is something actual to us. You see. In something that we feel it actually. Somebody with us here, he goes, he disappeared. So that is a good example of a real dictatorship.
Yeah. It's not only it's 11 journalists that were disappeared with him.
I know, but
15 high-ranking government officials. I mean, the country is like a big prison right now. It's like a Soviet era right now.
Yes. But I mean, I'm saying just like, I mean, this is something to me. I mean,
yes, yeah, I understand. This is very close to you. It's close to your heart.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the discussion. With the regional issue right now, because we know that when there are different countries involved in situations like in Sudan, then things get complicated and it becomes very hard to resolve. If you see like in the 90s in the regional lake, when there was issue in Congo, there were like 5-6 countries involved and it became very hard to resolve. Now in Sudan, it looks like there are different countries have their own interests. For instance, if you see Egypt, maybe US and other countries, they look like they were siding with Burhani. And then Hemeti has also, I'm sure Isaias is on Hemeti's side, and also the Ethiopian government is on Hemeti's side, even though without being declaring that they are on his side, but I'm sure behind the scene they will support, and also the Saudis, the Emirate Arab. How this will complicate the situation in Sudan?
So definitely any interference from outside will complicate the situations. There is no doubt. And although the people, they say they want to resolve the problem, but definitely that will never lead to the resolution of the problem. This is my belief. People who started the conflict, they should sit together and try to solve their conflict. You see, if you take the American, the British, the Saudis, the Emirates, even the Russian, they have their own interest. You see, the Russians, they are looking forward to having a port at Port Sudan. You see, the Emirates, they have their interest to have this Fashaga area to have their own agricultural scheme. You see, the Egyptians, they wanted to have the resources and the fall of the water, of the Nile water. You see, they have their own interest. You see, I mean, the Russian, even now, they're looking forward for the Sudanese gold, The Americans, they know that there is petrol in Sudan, and they have, before they had Chevron to come in and to dig for that petrol in Sudan. So no one will come to help you without their own interest. You see, as Kissinger said before, self-interest. No country will go to any other country without their own self-interest. This is there is no doubt about it. You see, and even this problem has been created by the foreign interference itself. Because if Hemeti didn't have a support from Emirates and from SAIS and from the Russian, he wouldn't have been that strong to comfort it with the army. The same of Hemeti. Burhan. Burhan now has support from the Egyptian, a very strong support from Egyptian and from the Saudis. You see, so both of them, but they forget that Sudan is now a poor country. People are suffering. We cannot stand a war. We need a development. Sudan is full of their own resources. So let them sit and talk and try to solve their problem. No other way.
So there has been news that the Hemeti soldiers has been involved in war in Yemen on behalf of the Saudis and the Emirates. And I'm sure that, why do you think the government in the first place allow the Hemeti soldiers to go over there? And then at the same time, this relationship, when you send your soldiers, there were a lot of soldiers. From what I heard was the Saudis and the Emirates, they don't have any foot soldiers. That's the foot soldiers are the one who's paying, the heavy price, the ultimate price. Those are the one who die. And those are mostly the Sudanese, from the Hemeti army. And this looks like you kind of build a strong bond because, basically giving your life to, the other countries. So, how is the relationship here?
You see, this is one of the unfortunate things has ever happened in Sudan. You see, these are missionaries. They have been sent to fight a war. It's not their war. They have been sent to Yemen for money. Hemeti has been gaining money from this soldier being sent to Sudan. They had been paid. The government allowed it because they could not afford to pay for Hemeti armies. So from this money, Hemeti used, to support and to pay the salary for his army and to build his economical empire. That is it. This is machineries, unfortunately. This is a scandal for Sudanese people.
Mm-hmm.
To be very honest, I'm very ashamed.
Mm. It's
I'm
very
sorry.
It's not easy. This is really, as you say, they are mercenaries. They do it for money, and obviously Hemeti has his money and his power. That's how he comes now into prominence. Yeah. That's why he's waging the war against the central government.
Yes, and they have sent children there to be died in this war.
Mm-hmm.
This is a scandal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now Hemeti, he wanted to control the whole country, so to be missionaries.
We know that the people of Sudan have paid heavy price to get rid of General Omar Bashir after 30 years of dictatorship. However, they didn't get what they hoped, a democratically elected civilian government so far. How do the people feel about this? And why do you think the people's wish didn't materialize after all the sacrifice paid to overthrow the regime?
Yes, the people are really disappointed. The people, they thought that they will have a quick government, transitional government, to rule for 2 years or 4 years maximum, and to have an elected government. But as I said to you in the beginning, unfortunately, our political parties are very weak. 30 years of al-Bashir regime has destroyed these political parties completely, you see. So the new generation are really disappointed. They couldn't understand that their sacrifice has been wasted, but still they are hoping, you see. This is actually something that nobody will understand, except what I'm saying to you, our political parties are very weak. Also, there is another point, because, this government, Omar al-Bashir government, have destroyed the trade unions. You see, because the trade union used to be very strong. And if we had a strong trade union, we wouldn't have been in these positions. Now they have started to build their own trade union, but they will never allow them, the Muslim Brother and Burhan and these people, because you know that there's a lot of discussion when the lawyer built their own trade union, and now when the the doctor built their own trade union, you see, because now this trade union, they are really strong. But what about the other? The labor trade union is not yet built, you know. So we have a long way to go. So we need to have strong trade union, strong political parties, so that we can go forward. Now the country is in a mess. I'm sorry to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is very, very, very sorry to see Sudan going through this difficult time.
Very difficult time.
Yeah, very difficult time. Yeah, really very, very difficult time. How is the humanitarian situation right now in Sudan? We know that there is no electricity, there is no running water. I mean, there is no food. All the shops and everything is closed. We heard that there is looting going on. But some people also saying that I think winter is coming or to Sudan, right? That's where there is a lot of rain and everything is coming also in the coming few months. So even without this war, there is always a devastating effect when there's the rainy season comes in Sudan. So all in all together, how is the humanitarian situation?
You see, I mean, the economical situation in Sudan, even before this war, is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now come this war, add to it. It's becoming worse. As I told you in the beginning, there is no electricity, there is no water, there is no food, there is no medical treatment, there is no schools opened. What is left is nothing. People are running in the streets. They don't know what to do. I mean, look at that. I mean, the majority of the population, they have their own living day by day. Now there is no work. How they are going to support themselves? Even now, the what you call it, the voluntary agencies, you see, they don't know how to reach the people. They're asking for this now, this is ceasefire, for them to allow them to go to deliver food to the needy people. They cannot go. The situation is really bad. I mean, even the hospital, I told you that the hospital, some of the hospital now out of work. You see, the kidney hospital in Khartoum, the people, they have to be moved from there. You see, some people, they need dialysis. Now they cannot have the dialysis. This means that they are really dangerous. There is no oxygen in the hospitals. There is no blood to give to the people. Now these wounded people who are coming to the hospital, they don't have no blood to give to them. So what is left? You see, no export, no transport. What's happening? Of course, people, they are going to suffer. It's a real suffering. Of course, now, if you've seen the videos, there's now looting in the shops. Mm-hmm. People, they're breaking the shops and try to take everything you find there. So it's going to be a chaos. If you are hungry, you will do whatever, especially if you have children. So the voluntary agency, they can do nothing. I told you now that is what we call it the youth in areas. They try to organize themselves, but still this wouldn't help because they don't have the means and the money. So we'll say God help Sudan.
Yeah, really, God help the people of Sudan. We really wish this thing got resolved very, very soon. Do you believe that without one of the two being becoming on the top of the other one, the situation can get resolved? Do you think that, bringing both of them to the table will resolve, unless one of the two guys has gone? Because it feels like whatever comes in, it feels like going to be a short resolution, because when you have like two powerful military generals, unless one is coming to the top, the other one is eliminated or being out of the country, whatever, do you think that this thing can get resolved in Sudan, being there's two men inside Sudan having their own things and everything like what is right now?
You see, in political science, we say any problem has a resolution if people, they came to the table and sit and discuss the problem. But the problem now in Sudan, both of them, you see, they are not the one who are really using their mind to come to a resolution. You see, this is in my point of view. And both of them, they are saying that one of us has to be eliminated. Okay. But if we eliminated the two heads, what about the rest there? Will come another heads to replace them. So we have to resolve the issue. The resolution of the issue, number one, we have to have one army. Cannot have two armies. This is for sure. No country in the world will have two armies. That we have to have one army. And this is, Hemeti has to understand that if there is a resolution, the resolution will be one army, not two armies. Then, number two, that no military rule again in Sudan. We want to have an election. Political parties have to organize themselves so that they can go to election. We don't have to go to discuss minor issues. You see, now even the people, what their differences? If you look what is their differences, I mean, it is minors. To me now, the situation like this, what we want to do for the Sudan, we have to have economical plan, we have to have political plan, we have to have a government, we have to have a parliament, you see, we have to have a freedom of press, freedom of justice, This is the establishments of the society. So that is, we can go up to have a government. But with this situation, we never come to a resolution. The other thing that, and we hope that the African Union, they can come in and try to let them sit in one table. But now I just heard that they couldn't come to Sudan because the airport is closed. So there is no means of even for transportation for people to come in. You see, the German, they want to evacuate their embassies, they couldn't. You see? So now people, they cannot go outside the country or come into the country. So the whole situation is a mess. Unless these two people stop the war and sit down, try to solve the problem. Otherwise, we are...
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very difficult problem is Sudan facing right now because first, the war is inside the capital city. And then second is those two, superpowers, those two generals, they have, I think they look like they are very much determined to eliminate one against the other so that they can control the country.
Yes.
That makes it very hard for anybody to resolve the issue because it's just, it's a real power struggle right now.
Yes. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Yes. Anyway, I'm just to the end of my questions. If this conflict doesn't get resolved very quickly, we know that there is a humanitarian situation. There's a very disaster in Sudan. What will happen? What will be the implication to the region, to the countries in the region, even going further to Europe and then other countries to the West? What will be the implication? The Sudanese are very, very, the population is huge. And then if this doesn't get resolved, it might have bigger issues in our hand, right?
Exactly. This is what I told you. I mean, one of the problem now, people will be refugees inside the country and outside the country. So they have to move somewhere to earn their living. I mean, they cannot be just sitting there and dying. You see, and that will make the other country, I mean, the superpower country or the neighboring country, they have more influence in Sudan, you know, because they have to resolve this problem, because otherwise the problem will turn to them. And if you can imagine that refugees from Sudan now go to Eritrea or go to Ethiopia or go to Chad, or will complicate the problem as well, you see. Not only that, I mean, Sudan as resources will be devastated, unfortunately, because the world is actually looking for Sudan to be a bread for the whole world, you know, as agriculture, you know, and this sort of thing. And I think the Egyptian will be the most people affected by that, you know, because already there are many Sudanese living in Egypt, you know, they have went to the Egyptian. And even in Ethiopia, I mean, there are a lot of businessmen who moved their business to Ethiopia, actually, and they're living there. So by this problem, this will be complicated. I mean, more people, they will leave the country. At least the ones who have the money, I mean, they can generate the work for the people. Of course, the one who can support themselves, they have money, they can leave the country. But the poor one will be the one who will pay the price, unfortunately.
Yeah, I really wish this thing get resolved very, very soon. The Sudanese people are really our brothers. And I myself was going through Sudan when I left Eritrea. I know the Sudanese people firsthand. And we Eritreans also appreciate the Sudanese people hospitality. And we always stand with the people of Sudan. And we really hope and pray this thing get resolved in a short period of time, so that, you know, the Sudanese people doesn't get displaced, doesn't become refugee like us. We want them to stay at home. So we will pray and we hope this thing get resolved soon. Dr. Babiker, I just want to give you a last chance. If you want to say anything, you know, I'll give you the last chance to you.
Well, thank you very much for interviewing me. Thank you for this moment to express myself in public. And I really wish that Sudan will go back to its past. Sudan, the country with generous people, with nice people, you know, and this war will stop as soon as possible. And people, they came to the reasons and to put Sudan in front of them rather than their own benefit and economical gains. And at the end, let us pray for the Sudanese people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Babiker. Definitely, we will pray for Sudan, and hopefully we will see some solution to, you know, to Sudan. And that's what we are really looking for, because Sudan's problem is our problem. That's what I see. That's what many Eritreans also see. And you know, hopefully this will thing get resolved. Thank you very much. I really would like to appreciate for coming into ERSAT and expressing your views on what is going on Sudan right now. And hopefully another time when there is anything new developments, definitely we'll have another discussion like this in the future. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
لو تغينا مسكنو فلنا فريه لنا تفعلنا
سلام أبرح حقن كاروان تركبو تهذا تلتي تلفزيون إرشاد كما يكنيهم
مقالة
سيرتي أفرح نحب فرح نزيد